When Mr. Varghese arrived in jail, Sheikh Faiz bin Ahmed was waiting for his second trial. Muslims in Mumbai raised huge funds for his defense. His family had forsaken him, and no one was willing to appoint a new lawyer for him. Therefore, the Muslim community in Mumbai decided to step up to help their fellow Muslim. They knew that what he had done by marrying the 11-year-old Muslim girl was not haram under the Sharia law. Many Muslims in Mumbai knew that the Prophet Muhammad had married a 6-year-old girl and slept with her when she was 9. For that reason, they collected 10 million Indian rupees and appointed for his defense the best Muslim lawyer in Mumbai. The case of the old Saudi drew old and new battle lines between the Muslim and Hindu communities. Hindus wanted the old Arab man hanged, and Muslims wanted him to walk out of jail with his head held high. Before the case of the old Saudi, Hindus and Muslims used to have two main battlegrounds for fighting. They would fight physically, by engaging in killing each other in cities like Ahmedabad and Aligarh, and the second method of fighting was the cricket field. Whenever the Indian cricket team met the Pakistani cricket team, the two communities considered it a place of real combat. Whosoever defeated the other was the winner of the warfare, and its followers would celebrate with fireworks. Muslims had another dirty way of killing Hindus, which was every now and again planting bombs in local trains and public places. This was never the Hindus' weapon of choice. The case of the Hyderabadi girl, Amina Hyder Ali, and the old Saudi, Sheikh Ahmed, was considered a third battleground for fighting between the bitter enemies. Some Muslim mullahs met with the family of Amina and gave them 500,000 Indian rupees. They convinced them to appear in court again, and testify that they had deceived the old Saudi by telling him that their daughter was 17 years old. Moreover, the mullahs sent the mother to her daughter and convinced her to back up her word in court. This required that she say that she lied to the old man about her age too. The Muslim community demanded that the judge of the old man not be Hindu. They asked the government of Maharashtra to appoint a Muslim judge. The government accepted their first demand and rejected the second one. It decided to appoint a judge who was neither a Hindu nor a Muslim. It appointed a Christian judge with a jury that consisted of Sikhs and Jains. When the Christian judge was interviewed a couple of days prior to the final trial, he said to the Times of India that the old Saudi was likely to walk out of the High Court as a free man. He said that all the evidences indicated that he was deceived by the family of the girl and the marriage agency, about the real age of his child bride. Accordingly, everyone came to believe the result of the second trial was going to be same as the first. The old Saudi once again was going to be acquitted and sent to his country with honor. The interview of the judge created great hope in the hearts of Muslims. Hindus and other religious communities were very disappointed by the interview. Nonetheless, when only 24 hours before the final trial was to take place, an incident occurred inside the Arthur Road jail, which changed the outcome of the trial. In fact, the incident terminated the need for a trial at all. The old Saudi was castrated and strangled inside the jail by one of his inmates, and that inmate was none other than the avenger of all vigilantes, Mr. Varghese, being about 35 years his junior, in a surprise attack, punched Sheikh Ahmed in the back of his head and knocked him to the floor of his cell. Sheikh Ahmed was swimming in the head and seeing circles as he fell to the ground and cracked his right hip. He was in no way a match for the younger, stronger assailant and started hollering for help. Mr. Varghese stuffed an oversized sock in his mouth full of excrement. With the foul taste in his mouth suffocating him, Sheikh Ahmed started gagging and gasping for air. Mr. Varghese then took the Sheikh's hands and began to bind them with shoestrings behind his back. Sheikh Ahmed, as much as he tried, was unable to escape being bound and tied, for he was completely immobilized due to his broken hip and the pain radiating throughout his body while he was choking on feces. With a homemade shank, Mr. Varghese cut off Sheikh Ahmed's penis and testicles. The Sheikh's torture was immeasurable as he screamed in pure agony and harrowing pain and torment. However, his screams were reduced to deep muffled groans. With blood gushing from his mutilated genitals, Mr. Varghese then removed the sock from the old man's mouth and squashed it into his face and nose. While screeching in pain and choking on fecal matter in his mouth and up his nose, Mr. Varghese replaced the sock with the old man's penis down his throat. The old man was covered in blood from his lower extremity to his face, with blood clouding his eyes, ears and nose, cutting off his air supply. Being robbed of air, Sheikh Ahmed started to turn from red to blue, and he was strangled to death by the object in his throat and Mr. Varghese placing his knees on his neck and in his face. And that was how the evil soul, Sheikh Faiz bin Ahmed, departed from the world and descended into hell to rot forever and ever. Hindus were overjoyed and celebrated greatly, glorifying the brave Christian man who was judge, jury and executioner, righteously carrying out the death penalty against the Muslim and unrepentant child rapist. He was a hero in their eyes, administering the punishment of the gods of Hindustan, which no one in the entire government of India was courageous enough to do. Some of them hanged the Christian man's photo in their houses and office buildings. They said prayers and lit candles to show devotion to their new god. The murder of the old serpent inside the Arthur jail made Hindus rejoice and count the Christian man who administrated the vigilante justice was more than an ordinary human being but one of their gods. Muslims of course felt they had been deprived of what was sure to be a clear and decisive victory. However, the murder of the old Saudi made the case of the Varghese family well known throughout the country. The media wrote extensively on it. It was revealed to the public that Mr. Varghese was deprived of his beloved son by Muslim terrorists. It was also reported that his only daughter lost her honor and killed herself, because a Muslim boy raped her when she was just a minor. Many people considered him to be justified in what he did to the Muslim boy. The same people also praised him for his brave decision to murder a kidnapper and rapist of an 11-year-old female child. When the police interrogated him, Mr. Varghese said that he killed the old Saudi because he had done a great evil by raping an 11-year-old girl. He said that he would not have killed him if he had not learned that the evil old Saudi was going to walk out of jail a free man in 24 hours. Some Muslim men, led by their bigotry and hatred and the need to get even, broke into the house of Mr. Varghese and raped his wife. Then, they murdered her in a very cruel way. They cut off her hands, her legs, and cut out her tongue. They then drove nails into her eyes. Finally, they beheaded her and fled. No one knew about the murder of Mrs. Varghese, until her dead body began to smell. Some of the neighbors called the police and reported a pungent odor coming from the apartment of the Varghese family. When the police arrived and broke down the door of the apartment, they found her body decomposing. When heard the news of the brutal way his wife was raped and murdered by Muslims, Mr. Varghese blamed himself for causing the death of his wife. He lost his mind thinking about it over and over again, screaming why day and night and banging himself against the bars of his cell. He was put in a straitjacket and transferred from the jail to a mental hospital and declared mentally unstable and unable to stand trial. Soon after arriving, some Muslim terrorists made their way into the mental hospital and shot him full of bullets. There was not a single inch of his body not touched by a bullet from the gunman. Hindus and followers of other religions condemned the brutal murder of Mr. Varghese, and they lamented over the cruel way his wife was raped and butchered by Muslims. They considered him a great Indian hero, and thousands of Hindus and followers of other religions attended the funeral of the greatest martyr in Mumbai history. Hindus also considered Mr. Varghese a great Indian hero and counted him a new avatar of their warrior god, Krishna.